The Atlanta Braves offense gets shut out for the second time in a week. They could really use some help offensively. Maybe they find that in this year's MLB Draft. We'll talk about all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, feedbacks, frustrations that you may be feeling towards this Braves offense. Love hearing from you and interacting with you there. Thank you for the conversations there. I sent out some post on Tuesday night looking at some of the stats and had some really good responses and conversations there. So I really appreciate that and appreciate the dialogue there and on the comment section on YouTube where you've been fantastic. So thank you so much for doing that. And it helps support the show when you do that as well. And you can also help support the show by hitting that subscribe button on YouTube, hitting that thumbs up button, and leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to Locked On Braves. And thank you so much to all the everydayers out here there who continue to listen every day, despite this Braves team being really hard to watch right now. I really do appreciate you joining me every single day here on Locked On Braves. Today, we will talk about another just tough loss, 4-0 loss. Offense continues to just be terrible. Second time getting shut out in a week. We'll discuss that. We'll also do our MLB draft prep. We'll look at maybe some college hitters that could help sooner rather than later. Also, some prospect promotions for Nacho Alvarez and Drake Baldwin. Could they perhaps help spark this offense? We're looking for anything at this point. We'll discuss all that on today's episode. Before we do, though, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. On Tuesday, the Atlanta Braves drop another game, their fourth straight loss, this one coming at the hands of the Baltimore Orioles, 4-0. Second time they've been shut out in a week. They're now just 6 games over 500. They're creeping back towards that 500 mark. I didn't think that would happen. I never thought we'd see the day, and they're still 6 games over. It's not like they're necessarily knocking on the door, but they're certainly trending in the wrong direction. And I talked about this, obviously, on the postcast with me and Grant McCauley, which you can check on Locked On Sports Atlanta on YouTube or on your Locked On Braves podcast feed. A 4-0 loss shouldn't feel like you got absolutely blown out. But that's what it felt like. Maybe it's because 3 of those runs came in the second inning, and at that point, you just felt like it was over. But that's kind of where we are with this Braves team, where 4 runs seems like a blowout. It seems like a game you just cannot win. It seems like a game that is out of reach. But you're talking about giving up 3 runs in the second inning of a game. You still got 7 innings to play with, and the Braves couldn't do anything to claw back and get in this game. And it's just the state of the offense right now and where we're at. And it's the reality that we're dealing with. They just don't know how to fight back without getting a 2-3 run home run. And I've talked about this a lot this week and in the past week or so. I've done a little radio shows, people wondering, what's going on with this offense? What do they need to do to get going? And kind of what I've come to the conclusion is that they have to be a more well-rounded offense. And, and that's partly surprising to me. And I know we keep talking about 2023 and people are tired of hearing it because it's a new year. But even last year, it was a more well-rounded offense. Yes, they got their power, but they also hit for average. They got on base. And I feel like they were able to score in different ways. And part of that's Ronald, and he's missing. And he's the guy, he can create things. He can create runs just by getting a walk, getting on base, stealing a base. He can create things and make it happen. And they don't have that player right now. This lineup up and down is not athletic enough to do that. You maybe have guys in Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, maybe Jared Kelenic that can do that. But Austin Riley can't do that. Matt Olson can't do that. Ozuna can't do that. Arcia can't do that. Murphy can't do that. Travis d'Arnaud can't do that. It's not a lineup full of guys who are able to create runs with their legs. And if the home runs aren't coming, and they're not coming for the Braves, and they haven't been coming for a while, at least not to the degree that we have seen in the past. And that's what this team is built around. And we're almost 2 months into this. And I was talking with somebody else, again, having a conversation on X about this, and they mentioned, where are all the doubles? And that's a great point, because at the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks of the year, they still weren't getting their home runs, but they were leading the league in doubles. And you're not even seeing that now. You're not seeing them, with all the hard contact, you're still not seeing them get balls down for those extra base hits. And again, if the home runs are down and those aren't coming with all the hard contact, you would think they would still at least be getting some extra base hits, getting some doubles in there. But it just feels like everything hit in the outfield is caught, and it's right to somebody. And again, more good dialogue on X and in the comments section. People have talked about the fact that maybe they're pulling the ball too much because they have a very high pull rate, and teams are playing to that and adjusting their defense to that. Maybe, the defensive alignment against the Braves teams saw something last year and they've shifted towards them, because it certainly feels like every hard hit ball the Braves have is right to somebody. Maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe it's nothing. But again, we're going on almost 2 months of this now, and it just, nothing has changed. And at some point, you can't just say it's bad luck. Maybe, again, teams have adjusted to you and the type of offense that the Braves are. But it's time for the Braves to adjust to that. And I was just looking at the doubles real quick. You go back to April, the Braves, didn't have a ton of home runs in the month of April. They were 19th in home runs, but they were second in doubles. And that's what was carrying them early on is, again, they weren't getting the big home runs with the balls being deflated, but they were still getting the doubles and extra base hits. But you look at the month of May, they were 21st in doubles. So those all of a sudden just disappeared. And it's, again, I don't know if it's a matter of the Braves. Teams are just adjusting to the Braves. And again, maybe they're pitching them more inside, letting them pull the baseball because they know that's what they want to do, but adjusting their defense to that and allowing them to just easily hit line drives, fly balls right into where they have their defense shifted. I need to look more into that. But again, something has changed, certainly, and the Braves have to adjust back. They have to find other ways to score runs. Brian Snitker changed up the lineup on Tuesday. And look, I give him credit for trying something different. That's what I asked for. Try something, do anything. But I did not ask for you to move your best hitter down 2 spots in the lineup. And I've been as supportive of Brian Snitker as anybody can be during the stretch that you're going on. How in the world do you justify moving your best hitter, the one hitter that has been good for you all year long? You finally move him to the 3 spot with a injury to Acuna that forced him to change the lineup. And now you try to shake things up, and you do that by moving your one good hitter down 2 spots in the order and putting your hitter who has been struggling mightily since coming back from the side injury in Austin Riley. You put him in the 3 hole, and he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I just don't understand that. I'd be fine moving those 2. If you want to put Ozzie and Michael at the top, that's fine. That gives you 2 guys at the top, at least, that do have some speed. They're not necessarily high on base guys, although Ozzie, has been pretty good this year, almost 330 on base percentage. That's good for Ozzie. He goes 0 for 5, obviously, once that happens. But Michael gets on base twice with a hit and a walk. But you go back to the first inning, you lead off the game with a triple. You get a ground ball from Ozzie with infield in that doesn't score a run, and then Austin Riley strikes out. Had that been Marcell Ozuna, do things play out differently? Who knows? He goes on to have 2 hits and a walk in the game himself. I just don't understand that thought process. I get maybe wanting to put Riley back in his normal spot in the order, see if that settles him down. I don't really buy that. If anything, I say move him down in the order, take some pressure off of him until he can turn things around. And Austin Riley will turn things around. He's too good of a player, too long of a track record of being good for him to be as bad as he's been. But why not move him down to 5th or 6th in the order and allow him to work his way back? I don't understand why you'd move your only good hitter further down in the order so that you don't get that RBI chance for him in the first inning. That made no sense to me. So again, I guess applaud him for trying something, but that just wasn't the right move, in my opinion. Move Kelnick up. The guy's having good at-bats. I know he was over 2, but at least had a walk and had some good at-bats. He looks like, he is having more patient approach at the plate, swinging at better pitches than almost anybody else in the lineup right now. Get Duvall out of there or move him down. Again, I've said it before. He'll give you some home runs every now and then, but in between that, his at-bats are just awful. Let's see somebody else get a chance now. We've seen a run of Adam Duvall as a full-time player. That's not it. He's great to fill in here or there. He's going to play some good defense, get him an at-bat off the bench against the lefty, give him a start against the lefty. I'm tired of Adam Duvall as an everyday player. Bring up something. Forrest Wall, I know he's been struggling, although he had 2 hits at Gwinnett. Ramon Laureano is down there. He's been good since the Braves have gotten him. Eli White, somebody else. I'm tired of seeing Adam Duvall in there, and I'm tired of seeing his terrible at-bats. I didn't even get into Max Fried in this one again. You can listen to more detail, me and Grant on the postcast. Fried was fine, but you give him a 3-run home run in the second inning with the way that this offense is playing, the game's over. And it's frustrating too, and he talked about it after the game. He's ahead in the count. He hangs a curveball. He gives up that home run, and the game's over in the second inning. And it's just it's too much to ask these starters to be perfect each and every time out. Again, 4 runs should not be an insurmountable thing for this offense, but right now it is. And unfortunately, Max Fried made that mistake, gave up a 3 spot in the second, and you pretty much could have turned your TV off after that. And several of you told me that you did. So just frustrated more on the offensive side of things. And again, I sympathize a little with Brian Snitker. There are no hot hands. There's no perfect scenario for this Braves lineup, but moving your best hitter down 2 spots, that one I just don't understand at all. So we'll see. Maybe he'll shake things back up again on Wednesday. Maybe some other guys will get a call up here. I know Eli White was scratched at Gwinnett. Maybe he's going to get called up and get a chance here. We'll see. We also got some prospects that are moved up to AAA. Could they be closer to maybe joining at the big league level? We'll talk about that more. But next, I want to get into our MLB draft prep and look at some of the latest mock drafts and who they have the Braves taking. We'll discuss that here next. Here on Locked On Braves, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round here at Locked On, as you know. And as you also know, what else is year-round but collection season? Just because tax season is over, it doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Maybe they can get a hit. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. That's tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below for more information. Baseball season is in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entry, whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. And all you got to do today on Wednesday, open up your PrizePicks app, use the code LOCKEDONMLB if you haven't already. You'll get a first deposit match up to $100. You're going to go over to the MLB tab there. You're going to look at pitcher strikeouts, and you're going to see Spencer Schwellenbach over there. I don't have my phone with me right now, or I would tell you what it is, but they'll have some sort of number there for Spencer Schwellenbach strikeouts. You pick more or less if you think he'll get more or less than the strikeout total they have listed. You can also go to first inning runs. You think the Braves will actually score a run in the first inning? Maybe they'll drive in that leadoff triple this time. You can pick that as well. Fantasy score points as well. All of that. Or if you're into the NBA, NHL finals, they'll have stuff for that too. So everything that you want there on PrizePick, America's #1 fantasy sports app. And it's just that simple. Pick more or less on player stats and watch the winnings roll in. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. You like me, you like listening to sports on your TV all day in the background, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories. They give you top analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 from our Locked On Sports host, both national and local. And you can get it on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app as well, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, the rest of the week here on Locked On Braves, we'll have an Around the League segment coming for you on Thursday. And then Thursday night, we will have our mailbag episode. So get ready to submit those questions. Let me know, too, if you have ideas of how to fix this offense. We'll talk about that on the mailbag podcast as well. But this week, or today, we're getting into our MLB Draft prep as we gear up for the MLB Draft coming up next month. Braves have picks 24, 62, and 99. And before we get into some of the mock drafts, I wanted to tell you a couple of names that stood out to me in the Super Regionals. Vance Honeycutt for North Carolina. We talked about him last week. He had a big week for North Carolina in the Super Regionals, had a walk-off home run, had another home run the next night. I don't think he's going to make it to the Braves. Also didn't think Hurston Waldrett would make it to the Braves last year. Right now, Vance Honeycutt's being mocked in that 15 to 17 window, so somewhere in the mid-teens in the first round. So don't know that he's going to make it to the Braves, but he is somebody that, again, as this postseason goes on in college baseball, that I'm really starting to fall in love with because there just are so many loud tools there. Obviously, the most concerning one is that strikeout rate, and that's concerning. I know Braves fans don't want to see somebody else come up with a 25+% strikeout rate. But he's going to give you Gold Glove defense. There's so much power and speed. I mean, it's a possibly 30-30 profile. So I really like Vance Honeycutt. I don't think he's going to make it to the Braves. And then Kalen Culpepper for Kansas State, somebody I really wanted to keep an eye on. I really wanted to watch him and Griff O'Farrell of Virginia as those two are going against each other because I'm looking for that position player, that infield prospect that maybe the Braves could target. Haven't really seen that player yet. We looked at DeBarge with Louisiana. I wasn't necessarily overwhelmed with him as being that shortstop or that infield guy that the Braves could target. Culpepper is somebody that intrigued me. I liked him a lot. He hit several balls that just died at the warning track, so he'd fit right in with this team. The power is something that, hasn't really come for him yet. He might be a mid-teen home run guy, but I saw some good power, again, in some swings that he took. Saw him come up with a clutch hit in the first game of that Super Regional to drive in a couple of runs. Didn't get to see him do too much defensively, but scouts say he has the arm to stick on the left side. Some questions about his lateral quickness, but again, I haven't necessarily seen that with Nacho Alvarez either, and the Braves seem to be pushing him up as a shortstop. And I think, just looking at it, Culpepper probably has a little bit more lateral quickness than Nacho Alvarez. I wish the Braves could get him at 62. He's almost certainly going to go before that. I don't see him as a first-round talent. I think there's too many other good college bats that I would take ahead of him. But I would love for him to somehow fall to the Braves at 62, or maybe the Braves could trade for a comp pick and take him there. I don't think they would necessarily do that to target Culpepper, but I do like him. I don't think he's a pick I would take at 24th overall. Getting into some of the mock drafts that are out there, MLB Pipeline, they had their first one, or maybe not have been their first one, but the one that came out on May 16th, they had the Braves taking Carson Bench, an outfielder from Oklahoma State. I didn't catch much of Carson Bench while Oklahoma State was in the postseason. I think I caught one or two of his at-bats and didn't really have any major takeaways, but scouts rave about his bat-to-ball skills and his exit velocities, which is great. He slashed 342, 451, 680 this past year with 17 home runs, 46 walks to 46 strikeouts, and 10 stolen bases, all 50 or higher grades according to MLB Pipeline. So hit, power, run, all of that, 50 or higher. Big arm, probably ends up in a corner outfield spot. So again, I don't have any major takeaways for Carson Bench. I didn't get to watch him a lot, but somebody who has some good plate discipline, will put the ball in play, but also comes with some power, a little bit of speed as a corner outfield guy. And again, college guy, maybe he moves pretty quickly. And the Braves need somebody to move quickly to come help them right now because things are tough. I'm not saying that would happen this year, but Carson Bench was who MLB Pipeline had on May 16th in their mock draft, but their updated one on June 6th, they had the Braves taking Durangelo Sanger, the right-handed pitcher from Mississippi State. We talked about him a lot on here. He's somebody that I'm kind of falling in love with at that 24th pick because I think he has some upside to him, especially he's somebody who's pitched left-handed and right-handed, but I think you stick him as a right-handed pitcher where he has a mid to upper 90s fastball and a plus slider, which the Braves have done well with those pitchers here as of late. And again, I think there's just some more upside to him. Control and his size are the two main issues with Sanger, but I do think, he has some potential. And again, that fastball, what I saw, at least in the postseason, I thought he had really good command of it. So I'm really in on Sanger. I think he'd be a good pick there at 24th overall. In that latest mock, they had some others hitters that I like. They had going just ahead, or not even just, several picks ahead of where the Braves are. Cam Smith from Florida State is a hitter I really like, but he's more in that teen range. Same for Honeycutt, who they had at 17. Brody Brecht from Iowa, they had him going at 22. He'd be the arm to me that is similar to Hurston Waldrop, a guy that has all the stuff. Maybe some of the best stuff in this draft class with a upper 90s, sometimes triple digits fastball, but really struggles with control. And, if he could fall to the Braves at 24 and they could help him find that control, he's somebody that could be a frontline starting pitcher. They also had Dakota Jordan slipping to 32. Perhaps that's because he ended the season in a huge slump for Mississippi State. But I like the athleticism of Dakota Jordan. I think he's somebody that has 2020 potential and maybe some room for growth with him. So if he were to slip that much, it's a bat I wouldn't mind taking a chance on at 24th overall. But he did end the season in a really bad way, although he had a big home run in the postseason, a big walk-off homer for Mississippi State. But Dakota Jordan slipping might be one that the Braves could take a look at. ESPN and Baseball America in their mock drafts they had in May both had the Braves taking Ryan Waldschmidt from Kentucky. Look, if you haven't watched Kentucky play, it's the way the Braves need to play right now because they just do all the little things well. And so I don't mind getting somebody from that style of baseball who will take their walks. They'll steal a base. They just hustle. If you saw the way that they eliminated Oregon State from the postseason, it was basically on a hustle play. It was a wild pitch and the runner scored from second base because the catcher kind of jogged to go get the baseball. And so that's the level of just focus and intensity that Kentucky teams play with. So I wouldn't mind having somebody from that mold that Nick Mangione has there in Kentucky. And Waldschmidt's a good hitter in his own right. /346, 473, 634 this past year, 14 home runs, 24 stolen bases. So you're looking at a potential 2020 player, 36 walks to 46 strikeouts. He's been praised for his plate discipline. Now, 36 walks to 46 strikeouts isn't overly impressive for a college hitter. You'll normally see, some of the best hitters with a 1-to-1 ratio there, but, obviously that's not terrible. He has a quick right-handed swing. Not sure where you put him defensively. He doesn't have a great arm, but he is quick enough to play in the outfield. Some even say he could play center field, but I think most likely you probably put him in a corner outfield spot somewhere. He did have ACL surgery last summer after stepping in a hole during a game in the outfield playing in the Cape. That's a little too close to home right now. I don't want any more ACL injuries happening, but he has looked good this season, this spring, since coming back from that. So I wouldn't hate Waldschmidt coming. I don't think he's the high-end type prospect there, but I think he is somebody that would be, an advanced college hitter, good approach at the plate, good plate discipline that could move pretty quickly for the Braves. And again, just that style of baseball that Kentucky plays, I feel like that's the way the game is trending, where you just have to do the little things right. It's no more about just exit velocity and launch angle. At least that seems to be the case this year. We'll see if that stands. Who knows what baseball will do in the future to change the game, but that seems to be the way that they're going. And that's just the type of baseball that Kentucky plays. So getting somebody from that mold might not be the worst idea. So let me know what you think about some of those guys for the upcoming MLB draft. You like any of those names? Anybody else that you want me to talk about? Let me know down in the comments section below. Next, we'll preview Wednesday's game where Spencer Schwellenbach gets another opportunity, but does so against a very tough Baltimore Orioles lineup. And the Braves called up a couple of top hitting prospects. Could they be knocking on the door and getting a chance at the big league level? We'll discuss that more next. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. On a Wednesday, it'll be a couple of young pitchers going against each other in Spencer Schwellenbach and Cade Povich. Schwellenbach in his first two starts, 9 2/3 innings pitched, 12 hits, just 3 walks, but 9 earned runs, 1 home run, and 9 strikeouts. So he's averaging about a strikeout an inning. That's good. 3 walks isn't terrible. 12 hits is too much. And I think the reason for that is just too many good pitches and 2-strike counts. And it's somebody that, throws a lot of strikes. We know that about Schwellenbach. It's what he did at the minor league level. And, it worked for him at the minor league level because he was getting weaker contact or not as good contact. But at the major league level, these guys can hit good pitches on the edges of the strike zone. So I think that's an adjustment that Schwellenbach has to make, particularly ahead in the count, is working in that gray area, that shadow area right outside the strike zone, trying to get that weak contact, trying to get hitters to chase. It just feels like he's getting in too many good leverage counts and throwing too many pitches inside of the strike zone, where he needs to just start nibbling a little bit more to try to get that weak contact. But that's really all I can say about Schwellenbach. Other than that, the stuff has looked good. You want good command. I'd rather that than him being up there and walking 5 or 6 batters at this point. So I think there's a lot to hope for with Schwellenbach and why he's continuing to get these opportunities. But I think that is the next step for him. It's just throwing. We know he's getting ahead in the count, but throwing more quality pitches with 2 strikes to put hitters away. That's kind of the next step for Schwellenbach at the major league level. As for Cade Povich, lefty, 24 years old, a 3.18 ERA and a 1.11 whip in 56 2/3 innings at AAA this year with 75 strikeouts, making his second big league start. In his first one, he went 5 1/3 innings. He only allowed 5 hits, but he walked 4 and gave up 6 earned runs, gave up a home run, and only struck out 2. While his walk per 9 had improved at AAA this year to 3.34, it had been over 4 his previous 2 years in the minors, and again, struggled with command in his first start. So please, I am begging you, Braves hitters, if for somehow you are watching this podcast, be patient. Make this kid throw you some strikes. Do not help him out. Make him come into the zone against you. Swing at good pitches. He has good stuff. Expect some swing and miss. I only had 2 strikeouts in his first big league outing, but at the minor league level, had some really good strikeout stuff. But just be patient. He threw his 4-seamer 50% of the time in his first big league start. It's set 92, so it's not like it's huge velocity, but he mixes in a curve, cutter, and changeup mostly that are going to have good whip rates as his major league career goes on. As for the news of the day, Ian Anderson threw a live bullpen session. So he's getting closer to returning. Maybe, late July, early August, I think could be a chance where we see Ian Anderson. I would not be expecting much from him this year, but could be another option down the stretch for the Braves. And the Braves called up Drake Baldwin. They called him up to AAA the other day, but then on Wednesday morning, they announced that they're calling up Nacho Alvarez as well. What could this mean? I don't know. And for Drake Baldwin, I feel like he's either going to get traded or he's going to be the Travis d'Arnaud replacement next year or the year after that. I feel kind of like that's the path for Drake Baldwin. Maybe he gets some spots, at a DH down the road. I've never been all that in love with Drake Baldwin's swing. He has come on as of late after a slow start of the season. But we'll see what they do with him and if he is really knocking on the door or if it's just a natural progression in his development cycle. As for Nacho Alvarez, a little surprised by this one. He hasn't been playing as much lately. I don't know if he's been injured or what, but hasn't been playing as much here as of late. And now they call him up to AAA. You know, they were so hesitant to call him up last year from high A to AA, and now all of a sudden they're pretty aggressive in my mind of calling him up from AA to AAA. Could that mean that maybe they've seen enough from Nacho Alvarez? Maybe they've seen enough of Orlando Arcia that they think Alvarez could come up this year and get a chance at shortstop. I mean, you're at AAA now. You're knocking on the door. If you are showing that you can still get on base like he has at every level and you can play good enough defense, you know, I question that. I know everybody's hard on Arcia, but if he's batting 8th or 9th in the order where he should be, and he's playing Gold Glove defense, and everybody above him in the lineup is doing what they're supposed to, then I'm perfectly fine with Orlando Arcia being my shortstop. But when everybody else is struggling offensively and he looks as bad as he has, then obviously you're going to have people clamoring to get Arcia out of there. I don't know. Alvarez has been fine. Certainly the plate discipline, the walks, the power has still not come. If you're going to stay at shortstop, that's okay. You know, if you're going to be a mid-teens home run guy, but you're going to get on at a 340% clip, and you're going to play at least average to above average defense, which I don't know yet. I still have not seen enough of Nacho Alvarez to say whether or not he can be above average defensively. But if you can do that, certainly the Braves need some guys who can get on base. So we'll see what happens there and how aggressive the Braves are with him. But thought I mentioned that. We'll probably talk about it more on Minors Monday. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thank you so much for making it here to the end. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Follow us on social media and rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we'll talk to you next time.